Hello everybody, I was requested to do a video about what I do just day to day in my life with my birds since I am not in school and I currently am unemployed. I spend most of my time just sitting on the computer, self-educating myself in preparation for my IAATE exam, which I currently do not have enough experience for. I need 3 years for that. So most of my time is just spent sitting around with the birds, and people want to know what it was like spending the entire day with them and what I did. So what I did was I woke up with the camera right next to me, and we got straight to the point, and you guys followed me around the entire day. And I can say it was very, very interesting trying to do everything with a camera right next to me the entire day. But without further ado, so at 8:30 I do wake up. Sometimes I wake up earlier than that, sometimes later. It's not super specific, but I wake up and you get to see my oh so delightful morning face. As, like I said, I slept with the camera right next to me. So much fun. I do have a lot of back pain and a lot of neck pain, and I've had who knows how many concussions. So my day typically does start with Advil or some other painkiller that'll just help me be able to, get through the day. And then because I was going to be recorded all day, I decided to do some pretty basic stuff just so that way I would feel more comfortable with a camera being in my face all day. But then this was kind of pointless because I ended up recording essentially none of my face. So, oh well, it's done now. It's there, so. At 9:30 we will go wake up the birds, and they are slightly chirping in the morning. They're kind of just happy chirps and peeping about, and they will have been foraging from whatever was left over the night before, whatever I put in at night, so they could have something little fun to do when they wake up in the morning and they don't have empty stomachs. And Mia was a little scared of the camera and the watch today, so she kind of took off a little bit and got a little hyper and did a few laps around the room. And what I'll do is I will ask CB to ring her bell. But she got a little distracted, Mia flying circles around the room, but she pulled it together eventually and rings her little bell and gets let out. And the reason why I asked her to do that is just that way she doesn't scream for attention to get let out of her cage. Instead she'll ring the bell, which is much quieter. And then what I do in the morning is basic chores, so things like taking out the garbage or changing their papers, or wiping down cage bars or perches, and rearranging toys. So just general things to tidy up. I might vacuum or dust as well in the morning. Just quick things I can get done just to help clean up the room and things like that. So next I'll do is the more important thing, which is taking out their water dishes and getting those all tidied. I had to stack those all into one very precarious pile in order to transport them one-handedly down the hallway. And I always scrub out their water dishes every day, just because I would want a clean cup every day. I wouldn't want a cup that's only cleaned once a week, so they get scrubbed out with warm water and vinegar. And then they get nice cool water back, and they're all very happy for that, and they all get to go drink nice cool water. And if it's summer or the water's looking kind of dirty, I will clean it out and replace it multiple times a day if it's needed. And that little toy gets put back onto the water dish. And then you get to stare at my feet as we walk down 4 flights of stairs, but I cropped it out and only put in 2, so. And we're going all the way down to the basement for flight training, because down here is like the biggest room, and we're just going to have some general fun with this. I just kind of close the doors, pop on the lights, and get them all set up at around 10:15. We have lots of little birdie fun. And I only did very basic flight recall today and some short free flight laps with them, just because I was trying to do this with the camera and it can be quite tricky. So here goes Mia. She did an absolutely wonderful job. She was doing really strong, powerful flight. She was very in control, and she was doing some nice, really large laps, which I was very happy to see. She's gotten so much stronger with her flight. So after that, we will head all the way back up the stairs, all the way back into the bird room, where I will ask Mia to stand on her perch. And I do that so that way there's something she's looking forward to, because she has a tendency to take off and want to go hang out with the birds on the main floor, but that gives her motivation to stay on me. And then I'll weigh them in the morning just to make sure their weights are all good, that they aren't randomly gaining weight or randomly losing weight, and just make sure that they're consistent, and, some general fluctuation should be going on, but they should be around the same range. And And then I'll go through and, fill up their food. Mia gets, her teaspoon or whatever put into her dish. She gets a little bit less than that because there's some left over the night before. And then ZB gets hers, and she gets a little bit more than Mia, which doesn't really look like it, but she does. And that goes into a little foraging toy just because she needs to be kept a little bit more interest with her pellets, otherwise she can get a bit bored of them. And Mia's will just get put in her regular purple dish, but sometimes I'll put little toys and things in there for her to dig through, so that way it's a bit more fun. And then we'll go through and make little birdie breakfast. So we've got some rinsed off sprouts, some kale, and then I'll chop up carrots in a variety of different ways. I did it 2 different ways this time, just because carrots are something that's really nutritious, but they aren't a huge fan of, so I'm trying to capture their attention with those and get them to try them out. So cutting up discs and plop those into the dishes this time. And like I said, everything's been washed before I put it into their dishes. And frozen berries, some broccoli pieces, and then we're about to have Gabby decided to come over and join us, so I gave her the little excess piece of broccoli, and I'm going to dump some frozen corn in there, and cut a piece of guava into 4 pieces. Check out little Goo eating her brockies. And then I'm going to grab some parsley off the plant. I'm going to check to see which ones look, the brightest and the most luscious. And I'm going to rinse those off and plop them in the birds' dishes as well. And we're going to head all the way back up the stairs to give the birds their gourmet meal. And when I open the door, we're going to see that ZB has greeted me by hanging off of the door frame. And her foot's totally fine. She's just holding on to the door frame. She's just a little goof. And then around 10:40, the meals will be done and they'll be chowing down, obviously, on the least healthy thing in there, which is the corn. But when they are like that and don't want to eat the other vegetables, I will just gently hold one in my hand and let them kind of rip it up. And what you'll see here is she'll tear out the first few pieces. And then right here, you'll see she actually eats the last bit. And that's what I do with foods they've never had before or things they've lost interest in. And it just shows them how good they are. And then here we'll see that Flippy is starting to show me a few of those signs that he wants the bath, those tiny little shakes of his. So I went and washed and filled up his tub and gave it to him. And when I did that, Mia decided to get a little bit jealous. So I had to go wash and fill up her tub and try to offer it to her. And you can see she really wants right in on that tub. So I'm going to go put her over in her little bathing corner, grab the other bathtub, and, see if ZB would like to have a bath as well. And it doesn't matter who you give what tub, they will switch over and over and over again, and they will chase each other around, and if you put the bathtubs apart, they will find a way to get mad at each other for bathing. So, you're gonna watch Mr. Flippy have a bath, but he's gonna pretend that I didn't see him. And then we're gonna see a signature bathing squabble as Mia runs around in circles. And we're going to see some little wet birdie faces and little itchy heads. And now that they're all done, they're all clean, they're all fed, they're all happy, I can finally go downstairs at about 11 o'clock and I can start making myself breakfast, which always comes last. So nothing too interesting, just a bowl of general cereal for breakfast this morning. And while I'm eating my breakfast, I will head onto my computer and I will hit up typically Tumblr first and see if I've got any questions in my box and whatever ones I wasn't able to answer previously. And whatever ones I can, since I was recording this video, whatever ones I could answer quickly, I decided to do, just because many of the other questions require much more brain power that I just can't do while attempting to record a video at the same time. But once that's done, I'll hit up my resources that I need to read for the International Association of Avian Trainers and Educators, and I'll read up on whatever recommendations they've had. And right now it's avian immunology, and just reading through that, and the birds will come join me when they're done with their meal, and they'll snuggle, and when they're like this and they're calm and together, I'll turn on the UV light, and that'll move around the room. Today it was on me. I don't typically aim it at me. It's more likely to be over at their food dishes or aimed on them during a training session, just so that way they can get, the full usage of the light rather than only them flying past it every now and then. So today they got some good scritches and some UV light, And then when I can't process what I'm reading anymore, I'll go through and play some games with the birds. And today we just decided to make toys because it can be a bit tricky for me to record some of the other games I might play with them. So, pretty basic stuff today. We just made some toys and with some of the parts I got from Feathered Addictions. So yucca wood pieces and broken toy parts from old toys, and it's lots of fun making toys with them because they get to see pieces moving around, they get to see lots of new objects and lots of new shapes, and so it really helps just getting them accustomed to new things in an environment. And it's just a good kind of bonding thing. It's lots of fun to make toys with them and just play with them in general. It keeps them stimulated, and it's lots of fun with them. So this is not going to be the most interesting of toys because we're only using about wood and one thing, but it's an interesting toy that they've never seen before, so really it captures interest, and it doesn't have to really look good to us, it just has to look good to them. So chunking more bits of wood on here, and these things may not look all that interesting, but I'll be able to use them very easily as foraging toys. Like with the one I'm currently making, I can put millet inside of that finger trap, or tuck seeds into the weaves, or I can put oat groats or sunflower seeds into the wood itself. So there's lots of ways that I can turn that into a foraging toy and really capture their interest with it if they end up not liking it. But ZB ends up liking it just as is, and she'll run right over to it and test out the little piece of wood sticking out and have some fun with that. But her interest will quickly be captured over to whatever I'm doing, but you see little boop right a bit. So while she gets to play with that, I try and speedily do another toy because it can be a little tricky trying to make toys while there's a bird trying to eat it at the same time. But we all know birds' interests aren't captured for all too long when you're playing with something. So she's going to come right over and get her beak in there and chew everything she can and be a little munchkin of a bird. And so I'm just going to thread. I previously had poked those with the skewer just that way there'd be a hole in them. And then thread lots of pieces on there. And, see if ZB's interested in it, and she certainly was. She came right over and wanted to chew at it and have lots of fun. And, so I tie the ends off on that, and I grab a clip from an older toy and hook it on, and as soon as the toy's done, it's no longer overly interesting, as usual. But, so around 1 o'clock we have a training session, and this training session ended up being about 15 minutes long. And she's learning to either roll over or play dead, and I'm not 100% sure which one I'm going to choose. I think we're going to do play dead first, just because we're pretty much already there because we had another session today. But what we're doing here is just making sure that everything's her choice. We have the UV light on her again, so that way she's, getting more nutrients. And I'm not holding any part of her body. I'm asking her to give me her foot, and then I'm just gently tipping it. And if she wants to let go, she can let go. If she's uncomfortable, she can leave. Just because flipping onto the back can be a very scary, very discomforting activity. So I'm really making sure that everything we do here is absolutely her choice. She can flip herself over when she wants to. She has complete control of the situation. And you can see here she's gone from just gently tipping and touching her shoulder to completely laying on her back. So she makes wonderful progress in very short periods of time, so I have no doubt that she'll be able to catch on to this and learn it pretty quickly. But training is lots of fun, and we usually have about 2 to 3 sessions a day. Flight training usually takes up 1 session, and then they'll sit around and have a nap and kind of chill, and then when the weather's warm enough, we'll pop outside for a little bit. And if they're feeling up to it, I always make sure that they're comfortable and responsive before we go outdoors. So today at about 2 o'clock we went outside, walked around just in the backyard a little bit. I didn't want to go anywhere too crazy because I had the camera on me, and my focus really needs to be on her. So we just walked around for a little bit, had a little bit of birdie fun, and then I'll put her in her cage, and I'll take Mia and put Mia in the travel cage, and we'll pop out into the backyard a little bit, and she will scream her little head off just because she can. I still have no idea what she was screaming at, but she just decided to randomly scream so loud that the camera could not handle her volume, and so it buffered the noise. But oh well. And I took a little peek through the fence at the neighbor's a German Shepherd, which is actually training to be a police dog. And here we got little Mia again, just being a little munchkin. We typically do some sort of training or something when we're sitting in the cage, but it was a little tricky to record and do it at the same time today. She just got a cute little couple views of the little Miss Mia Moo. And we're going to get a little panorama shot of the backyard and how sunny it was, but got the trees in our backyard neighbor's backyard, and the delightful blue sky. And then I'll let them all out, and they just pretty much chill for the rest of the day. I'm not too involved with what they do from here on out, except for our evening training session. So, they'll go get drinks of water, they'll play with their toys, they'll check out their pellets and things, and eat their lunch, and just do general birdie stuff. So here we see Zeeby's foraging with her pellets, Mia's foraging with the millet in her drawer toy that I just filled up, and Zeeby's playing with the new toy. She caught on pretty quickly to that, all the little oat groats that I stuffed into the wood. And the funny thing about her was that when she couldn't find any more, she was searching the whole toy, and she just couldn't find any more food on this toy. She decided to just grab the toy and just push it off the edge. I'm going to say hi to Mr. Flippy Bips, and, just more general birdie stuff. So, like I said, typically during this time, when they're playing and having fun on their own, I don't want to be too involved with it. I want them to be having fun on without me, so that way when I'm gone, or, on vacation or whatever, they can entertain themselves, they can have fun. And so mainly I'll be sitting on my computer doing more education, or answering more questions on Tumblr. And then once again, in the evening, right near their dinner time, I will weigh them again and just make sure their weights are good. And then they'll go back off to doing general birdie stuff and having, lots of bird fun. Mia will generally start to calm down around this time. She'll start to preen and snooze a little bit. And then they had a little bit of excess energy today, so we had a little training session where we played a little bit of basketball and just kind of going over concepts they already know, just because it's the evening. We're kind of just winding down for the night, so we're just doing things they already know to really solidify those facts in their mind. And the last thing I'll do, which I only usually do this about once a week, but I'll do a sort of examination on them and just get them used to physical handling, so that when they go see a vet, they aren't panicked or discomforted by all this movement and all this, touch. So I'll just generally touch areas that vets normally touch. I'll outstretch their wings very lightly. And, it's just good for getting them positive experiences with types of handling they don't always get. And they get lots and lots of treats. And then we pretty much just chill for the rest of the evening. Mia will rub corn in my hair, and the birds will just come and kind of chill with me. Zeeby will get some nice scritches, and Mia's gonna secretly eat my shirt in the background to pretend like I don't see her doing it. But we're just gonna play around for a little bit, have some little birdie fun, and then you'll see them wanting to take a little bit of a nap, so Zeeby will pop up there, and they'll snuggle and do little cute birdie stuff, give her lots of preens, and then I'll go back to working on my computer, editing the video, and Zeeby will wreak havoc on the keyboard, and Mia's gonna run over and eat the dish of veggies I just changed out again. And then she's going to go back to kind of being a little general bird and just doing fun bird stuff. While again, I'll be sitting on my computer. So she's going to go be a goof and slip and slide all over the place and just be a generally silly little bird. And then she noticed that Zeeby headed over to their dinner veggies, and she couldn't have that happening. She had to make sure that Mia had all the corn, so Mia had to hop on over there. And then Zeeby goes back to, foraging and having fun in the evening. This is them eating their dinner. So Mia's going to eat her pellets, and Zeeby's going to eat whatever foraging she can still find, and she'll go down to eating pellets later. I go back to, editing this video. Mia gets to take a little nap, and, she found a little bit of millet that fell on the floor. So she decided to explore a little bit and work her way down there, and then be a little goof as she so gracefully plops onto the floor. And then here we see what happens when I know it's time to put them to bed, is they'll start making these really gentle kind of song type chirps, and they'll just kind of gently move over to the same spot and really puff up and squish next to each other and get really snuggly, and Mia's foot will just slightly disappear. There it goes. And then that's when I know it's time to put them to sleep, so I will take ZB, she's gotta do her little stretch, and we'll pop her into her cage and let her take a nap and go to bed. And there's still a little bit of pellets in her dish from, today, which she can eat in the morning for tomorrow. And we're going to put Mia in her cage, and I close all the windows, and I'll vacuum the floor and tidy up. We'll say goodnight to Mr. Flippy Vips, turn off all the lights, and that's pretty much it. At about 5:30, things are kind of done with the birds, and I would just spend the rest of the evening sitting in my room, editing the video you're currently watching, or I'll be going on Tumblr. I'll be eating my dinner at that time, which is broccoli soup, which tastes a lot better than it looks, I promise. And so I'll be answering questions that I wasn't able to get to, or I'll be reading more again. So that's pretty much my entire day. Like I said, not all too interesting. It's a lot of just sitting around. It's a lot more mental work than it is physical, but I don't know, that's just kind of what I do. So thank you to those of you who requested this video. It was a very interesting experience trying to walk around with the camera the entire day, but I had lots of fun. And so yeah, so thank you for requesting it. I really enjoyed doing this. It was quite tricky, but it was a very, like I said, interesting experience. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you all for being here, and I will see you all next time.